Turning back now to our continuing coverage of the state of abortion today as the country prepares to mark the 49th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision. We spoke with the director of Californians for Life earlier this hour. That's one of the groups working to see that current constitutional right reversed. The president and CEO of the Planned Parenthood Affiliates of California, Jody Hicks, joins me now live with the other side of this debate. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today.
Definitely. First, are you convinced that Roe is on the way out with the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health case out of Mississippi? That case involves a 15-week abortion ban, and a decision is expected later this year. More signaling came from the court yesterday about its intentions. Another challenge to the Texas heartbeat law was rejected.
Yeah, I mean, I think this new conservative Supreme Court was always a concern, but I think certainly that the actions that they've taken or the inactions that they've taken when it comes to what's happening in Texas, and that they took this Mississippi Dobbs case, despite 49 years of precedent, is concerning. And I think the writing is on the wall for us seeing some changes in their decision this summer.
The Catholic fraternal group, the Knights of Columbus, has sponsored a new national poll, which was conducted by Marist. Results released yesterday, finding 71% of respondents support abortion restrictions, with more than 44% wanting each state to control its own abortion rules instead of there being the kind of federal standard allowed by Roe v. Wade. What do you have to say about those numbers?
Well, they conflict with the numbers that we see. So we know we've seen over 70% that want a constitutional right to continue to be in place. They don't want Roe v. Wade to be overturned. And they also want, especially people here in California, want an expanded access to abortion services. So our numbers show that there's overwhelming majority support that want to ensure that people have a right to bodily autonomy, to make decisions about when or how to have a family.
Just yesterday, state lawmakers in both the Assembly and the Senate have passed resolutions that the group Californians for Life has condemned as celebrating abortion, and even urged voters to tell their representatives support of those resolutions would cost them in upcoming elections. In my read, the resolutions weren't particularly complimentary of the procedure, but clarified and summarized rights afforded women in this area in the state of California. In your opinion, do we need resolutions like this right now?
I think they do a resolution every year to commemorate this landmark ruling that allowed people to have rights to their decision making. And so, we know overwhelmingly what it means if people don't have control over decisions on how they, their very health, how and when they can decide about family decision making. And we know that that means that they have less economic opportunities, educational opportunities, and certainly can't decide the course of their future. And so I think it's important for policymakers to weigh in on the importance of those rights being in place. But again, our polling and our focus groups show that people overwhelmingly want their policymakers to speak out about these issues.
We know that since the most restrictive abortion law in the country went into effect in Texas, 2 to 3 patients from there have been coming here to California for the procedures they want. California's Legislative Women's Caucus has just announced what members are calling a united plan on reproductive freedom in partnership with the California Future of Abortion Council, which Planned Parenthood helped create. The caucus effort includes things like civil liberty protections for providers and the creation of a gap and uncompensated care program. What do you think is the most significant element in this package?
I think there's several things. I mean, one of the main things is reducing cost barriers for people trying to seek care. I think it's important to understand that, as we know, potentially half the country instituting abortion restrictions on abortion, should the Supreme Court decide how we think they're going to, that there will be an impact on California. And it's important to ensure that the infrastructure of our providers here are good and strong, so that we're not having waits for patients that already live in California. So we need to ensure that we're able to have capacity, and we are grateful that the Women's Caucus is making this a priority this year.
And we are thankful that you came in to share this side of this very controversial, emotional debate for a lot of people. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And now here's Adam with another.